Hello and welcome to Tefund Connect on Global Television. I am Jumai Manson and my co-host.
I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Many thanks for joining us today on Tefund Connect.
Today we shall be looking at more interventions from Imo State, beginning from the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, where the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration commended Tefund's interventions.
My name is Professor Ago Clifford, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, standing in for the Vice Chancellor. Tefund has variously intervened in the activities of this great university. In the first place, in the area of infrastructure development. Secondly, in the area of research and innovation. Thirdly, education support, both local and foreign scholarships award. Also, in capacity building, entrepreneurship, and human capital development. Tefund has achieved this great lot by way of allocation of funds for buildings in this great university. Of course, there's no gainsaying that over 70% of the buildings in Futo are Tefund sponsored. As we speak now, we have some buildings that are ongoing. Some are near completion, some have been completed and put in use.
My name is Professor Chika Ogweke. I'm standing in for the desk officer of Tefund. She's away on an assignment which is also sponsored by Tefund. All the development interventions, the ones concerning training of staff and research grants, I think they stand out for us.
I want to express thanks to Tefund. It is a wonderful initiative that have assisted the universities immensely. As Director of ICT, we received a lot of interventions. One of them is providing us with enormous computers with which we kicked off our computer-based tests. We also have the ICT upgraded by Tefund. We also received a lot of other facilities, including renovation of the ICT building. So on the personal side, I've also received 2020 research grant. I was a principal investigator in one of the awards, which has to do on Internet of Things and edge technologies for healthcare delivery.
It's been quite great because one thing is for you as a researcher to have an idea. Another thing entirely is for you to be able to bring forth that idea in a way that you can prove to the world what you had imagined, because every research comes from a set mind. So this particular project that Tefund funded had been within me for a long while, and when I put together things I would need, I wasn't too encouraged. But then when Tefund gave the funding, it was a great encouragement. We were able to do everything that we desired to do. We did the biodegradability tests. We actually did it for 3 months. This is composite soil, and this is landfill. You can see all the mess from the landfill. Now, this is Tefund lab, carved out of this other lab. So everything here was done from Tefund. You can see we inscribed everything as Tefund. The fridge, all those materials. So this is where the students were working, and we did all our analysis and somehow constructed a tank here. That was my idea anyway, because water does not flow here. So we got this, and we pour water there, so we have water flowing. So when the water goes down, the students, we actually buy and put water there, so to run our analysis. And where are those plastics? Okay, Cynthia. The batteries, everything there.
My experience with Tefund as a beneficiary didn't start in a conference room. It started in my office. You know, presently in Nigeria, for those of us in animal production, we are having a lot of challenges, and that challenge is that a lot of farmers are really going out of business. If you could remember, last December, broiler was sold like 25,000 naira, and what was the price because of high cost of feed. And we noticed that a lot of alternative material that are not in competition with animal, that are not competition with man. But we have the wonderful idea, we have the drive, but we are starved of fund to carry out that research. But when the fund came from Tefund, IBR is the institution-based research, which is also funded by Tefund. By the time we got that fund, the whole narrative changed.
Here you are already in acquisition unit, where every books acquired in the library are being processed before it now gets to the main library where students will have access to it. So like you see, presently we have 2023, 2024 Tefund books. Yeah, they're already here with us.
Tefund has really been a helpful body in my school, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. They have been helpful in providing structures for making students' academic life better. For instance, now we're in the school e-library. You can see I was working on the system, trying to get access to online journals and publications that I can use for my project, because right now I'm in my final year, so I'm doing my school project now.
I and my team, our final year project, we are working on a project, Advanced Smart Prosthetic Technology. So with the help of Tefund, we've been able to access journals and PDF to help us carry out this research and project.
Now, away from Futo, let's take you to the Federal Polytechnic Nekede, where the rector said, without Tefund, she doesn't know where the institution would have been.
On Tefund projects, there are so many Tefund interventions already. In fact, without Tefund, I don't know where institutions now will have been. Starting with the annual interventions, is just everywhere. The annual intervention in when it comes to infrastructural development, you discover that we're just using it to do a lot of things. In fact, this year alone, we've been having problem with the hostels, and the annual intervention is on renovation of hostels. When I talk about total overhauling of hostels, that is what we are using the annual interventions to do, because for annual intervention, you can use it for other things, even apart from the infrastructural development and so on. You can also use it for in development of staff, one thing or the other, procurement of equipment and so on. But this annual intervention, this year's annual intervention is, we are channeling it to that. And then we also have other things like special intervention. That one, we can also go into construction of every form, buildings, roads, other procurements and so on. Even vehicles as much as that. And so on. We have ICT intervention, which has helped us a lot. In fact, by the time I assumed duty, the ICT directorate was nothing to, talk about. But by the grace of God, through the ICT intervention, the Tefund ICT intervention, we're able to use it for 2024 to get most of the things that we needed, most of the equipment, in order to, because as at that time we lost accreditation, but with the help of Tefund, we were able to get all the equipment needed, and by the grace of God, it is back now. We have already, gotten back our accreditation. That is in terms of the ICT interventions. We also have library intervention. That's library development, which has helped a lot in, helping us to get up to date books. Because if you look at what we have, most times you go to some libraries, you now discover that you just have outdated books. But with Tefund, the Tefund will insist that you give them current books. And with that, we're able to get most of the things that we have. We also have e-books, through that, even ICT equipment and so on in the libraries and so on. So it's actually helping a lot. And then we also have institutional-based research, which is also part of Tefund intervention, that have helped staff. Many of our staff, usually use it in getting grants, going into research, and so on.
In the desk officer of the school of Tefund in this federal institution, the Federal Polytechnic, we run some interventions for our lecturers and our staff generally. We have first the academic staff training, and that is where our lecturers apply for scholarships from Tefund. That is number one. And then we have conferences where our lecturers and also non-teaching staff are opportuned to apply to go to deliver papers and also attend different conferences, both locally and outside the country. So these are the two major ones. But inside the directorate, we also handle journal publications and book publications. In those cases, we call for papers, and our staff will bring in their journal manuscripts and then book manuscripts, which goes through the normal processes according to the stipulations of Tefund. And then when finally seen that they have gotten the real canons, we then upload, and Tefund will assist us in approving them.
I want to say that as a beneficiary of Tefund Foreign Scholarship, I was exposed to a different type of learning. Learning in the sense that we were not taught how to cram. We were taught how to apply the knowledge we have gained. For instance, I remember my professor telling me that these formulas, I don't need you to derive these formulas or these equations again. What I need you to do is how to apply these equations to solve a real-life problem. And then this knowledge and this exposure really enlightened my horizon. For instance, also, I had a specialization in a rare background in my field, food science and technology. I specialized in electrochemical sensors and biosensors for food safety, which is rare in Nigeria.
My experiences are enormous, but I will just go straight to the last encounter. The last concluded 2025 ATUPA conference. ATUPA stands for Association of Technical Universities and Polytechnics in Africa, that took place in South Africa, in Durban, South Africa. The host was UNISA, University of South Africa. I am part of the numerous number that attended that conference. It was wonderful. And the air, the fresh air, the experience is still all over me. Honestly, Tefund is the reason why I traveled out of the shores of West Africa. For the first time, I had an experience of flying in the air for over 6 hours.
Availability of funds from Tefund, the ideas go steps further. I've been able, with the support of Tefund sponsorship, to bring in some ideas into physical, finished prototypes. We also took a look at the local farmer. We made some proposals based on improved agricultural practices. So we developed some equipment. For instance, an automated garri frying machine. This is automated garri frying machine. I mentioned it in the interview there. This makes garri frying easy, simple. Like I told you, it was produced having the local woman or local farmer in mind, because we need to simplify what they do and also boost production because we must improve on what we produce. So this has heaters under. You don't need to fire with coal or firewood. Once you plug in there, this is a control panel. This is the key to this. So you open it, put it on, the heaters come on. The heater has a thermostat. The temperature is set to a particular level so that the garri will not burn. Palm bunch. Once you harvest palm nuts, you get the bunch. This machine strips it of all the nuts. Once you put it here, the nuts go out and come out from here.
We in engineering, Colin is always talking about maintaining of strength and integrity testing. So this is the hardness testing machine. Our students, after doing their welding work, they have to test it. We don't just allow them to go without testing their material. Apart from metal work, even if it is bricks, we have the pendulum impact tester that we can use to check the strength of block. This one now, you can use it to know the pressure. You can strike on the block and the pressure will be registered. We also have other equipment, the fatigue testing equipment and the creep testing. Photo students used to come here sometimes to look for, to partner with us to carry out their testing.
These are some of the things we call the food processing. We use this one for plants or for meals, which is animal feed. So this one is a hammer mill, which can crush even bones, maize, or any type of grain. So this one is a hammer mill. Then this one is a pillating machine. After crushing and mixing, you use this one to make them in a very granular sizes. Yeah, you use it to make them in a granular sizes, small sizes, so that all the compounds that you mix together can be in one, can answer one compound. All the elements that we mix together can be now under one compound like capsules. So this particular machine does that. So this one is a mixer. After crushing, then all the materials are mixed here. That is where they are blended. And this one we mix all of them thoroughly before it starts passing through the process. And all these things were achieved as a result of Tefund, who gave us the intervention fund for us to showcase our ideas and bring it to reality.
Tefund has done a whole lot in this institution as regards to infrastructure. We have good and conducive learning environment. Unlike when I came into this institution, there were no good learning environment for students. But then with the intervention of Tefund, we have very conducive learning environment, good marker boards, good seating arrangements, and all of that. And then also, as an engineering student, I can say for a fact, like the equipment we have all around us, we are able to practicalize all that we've been taught, and we get to see this equipment, both the computerized equipment, we get to understand how to operate them and how they function properly.
In our labs, which is in the engineering labs, we have different equipments that enable students to practicalize what they learn. As we all know, theory is nothing without practicals. So they provide a lot of diagnostic equipment for us that help us practicalize what we're being taught in the classrooms. These help us even outside the four walls of the schools to be self-employed on our own. Thank you.
Tefund is a big name. When you enter the Federal Polytechnic Nekede, only the buildings alone will tell you that Tefund is already in the school environment. So starting from the infrastructures, we have a lot of lecture halls which Tefund has already erected for us. Very convenient and okay for learning.
For the Vice-Chancellor of Alvan Ikoku, Federal University of Education, she is thanking God for the people that brought this initiative of providing infrastructure and other interventions.
Honestly speaking, I really thank God for the people that brought this initiative, of intervening in providing infrastructure and other interventions in the tertiary institutions. It has really gone a long way. If you look at my institution, for instance, apart from the Tefund buildings, I started with ETF, as it used to be called. I don't know how many capital projects you will see here. If not for Tefund, I don't know. Is it an infrastructure aspect that is helping us in terms of sponsoring staff for higher degrees, masters, PhD, sponsoring staff conferences, both teaching and non-teaching?
I want it to be on record that Tefund has sponsored more than 400 academic staff for different programs, whether master's degree program and or PhD program, both within and outside the country. And also, Tefund has sponsored about 328 members of staff for conferences. And you know that when lecturers update themselves, it has a direct impact on the students and in their service delivery.
I've benefited from Tefund twice. First, my MSc program. At first, when I was embarking for the program, I was like, how will I get funding? Because it was far away at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka. As fate will have it, they floated a call for Tefund application, and I was privileged to be among those selected from this institution. And after the MSc, I picked another form for PhD, this time around at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And I was privileged again. After some call for submission, I was picked and I was sponsored for my PhD program.
I'm one of those people that have benefited much from the Tefund sponsorship. I did my master's degree through the sponsorship at INSU, and I finished 2015 and also started my PhD program under the same sponsorship in 2021, and I finished in 2024 last year.
I benefited when I went for international training in the UK with Tefund, which helped me to acquire my master's, and some other lecturers in the institutions, which has helped us to have a multiple number of academic staff which have benefited for their master's and PhD program. Currently, I have also benefited in using it to do my PhD program, which I'm almost rounding up. One of the essential things we have benefited from Tefund is that it has helped us to have world-class experience by traveling out and going for some of the conferences and workshops, which has helped us to increase our knowledge in academics.
Tefund has really done a lot in our institution here in Abanikoko Federal University of Education. Where should I begin from? There are a lot of things that Tefund has done. Currently, we are inside the agricultural lab where we have equipped lab in this institution.
Tefund, which is Tertiary Education Trust Fund, I will say it has been very helpful, especially in this institution, Abanikoko Federal University of Education, in the following ways. First of all is erection of new buildings, which we use in our studies for lectures. Also, some lecturers has been part of the trainings.
That's not all. Through the wisdom of the Executive Secretary of Tefund, Architect Sonny Echonu, with the approval of Mr. President, tertiary institutions in Nigeria would now have beautiful hostels.
The President said he wanted us to build hostels, enough hostels, livable hostels, decent hostels. You cannot put students in dilapidated conditions and expect them to come out and behave like well-brought up, well-bred children. That henceforth we should do what. And you are going to be inviting the public. As I speak, there are 24 Renewed Hope Initiative hostels all across our country coming up. We'll be commissioning 2 of them before the end of the year in Akwa Ibom and in Warri. And others are coming up. He asked us to double it when we spoke to him last time with the Honorable Minister. So next year, we are going to take it about 72 different institutions having modern hostel facilities all across our campuses. Still on students, he said these children complained that they asked us that NANS were here, and they complained about campus transportation, that as a gesture, he's going to be giving them some CNG buses, but he also wants Tefund to do something about it. And that is why this year we have already launched a program. The actual launching of the vehicles will be done before the end of the year. We are going to be launching campus transportation for all our students. There are going to be electric vehicles. They have charging points in their campuses. We are going to be involving the student union government, even in the administration of those. It will almost come at very, very minimal cost to students so that they can move freely and more effectively within their campuses all through the country.
That's it on Tefund Connect today. Watch out for the next episode of Tefund Connect. I am Jumai Manson and my co-host.
I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thanks for watching.